All right. Right now, at this point, we don't know where this whole infrastructure, measure stands. We do know that Republicans and Democrats are closer than they have been, but that was the case before I left, and it remains the case right now. But they're in roughly the same trillion-dollar neck of the woods. Now they seem to be parsing what's new money versus existing reappropriated funds. Here to give us the latest, Tennessee Republican Chuck Fleischmann serves on the House Appropriations Committee. Congressman, great to have you. Where do you think things stand now, sir?
Well, I think the parties are talking, and whenever you communicate, it's always a good thing. But it gets back, Neil, to basics, definitions. I think Congress needs to go back to third graders and say, define infrastructure. And what you'll get is roads, bridges, waterways, broadband, not a social justice bill. We've got to get back to good basic definitions, come up with a number, and I think that number is probably going to be around $1 trillion, and then basically get it done for the American people. The American people want a good, strong, traditional infrastructure bill, and we owe it to them to give it to them.
Now, it seems that you are in agreement with the administration, not too keen on new gas taxes or mileage taxes, not as strongly as the president, but that seems to be out the window as a way of paying for this. So how are Republicans offering to pay for it?
Well, we've got to look at what's actually doable and on the table. The one thing we don't want to do, Neil, is raise the corporate tax rates. One of the best things of several things that came out of the Trump administration was reducing the corporate tax rate from its odious 35% down to 21%. Critically important. It helped business, it helped the economy, it helped the American worker, it helped move our country forward. It would be a big step backward, I think, and detrimental in a very fragile economy to raise corporate taxes. So I think we need to look at use taxes.
I get that you don't want to.
Sure.
Okay, you don't want to raise the corporate tax. I get that. Even when they came back with a 25% rate, the president seems to be holding off on that as well. So what are you open to? I know user fees have been played around with. What do you mean by user fees?
Well, the American people understand that if we're going to have an infrastructure bill and an infrastructure package, you can't fund it with gimmicks. You're going to have to go, and this is going to have to start with leadership from the administration and then secondarily from Congress, to look the American people in the eye and say, if we're going to go large, and I think $1 trillion is large, we're going to have to figure out a way to pay for this. Now, when you do that, you need to start floating ideas, talking to the American people, but the American people are tired of gimmicks. There's, I think one of the best ways to do it is to look at growth. If we could open up new oil wells and things like that, where we would see more royalties and things like that. Unfortunately, the administration has taken us in the wrong direction, I think, on new energy and new energy development. There's a lot of growth that we can see there, new revenue that could be used for infrastructure. So take money that's going to be used for infrastructure and make sure that you apply it correctly. No more gimmicks.
All right, on inflation, I know it's gotten the clarion call of Republicans blaming it on this president. Of course, a lot of the run-up is built on good news, the improving economy and all of that. We're expecting to hear from Jerome Powell, Congressman, as you know, is saying this is transitory, that it won't last for long. Do you buy that this is going to be a temporary spike and then settle down?
I'm very concerned. Neil, inflation is something that I saw as a very young person growing up in the 70s and then into the early 80s. It is a danger. It hurts working class Americans, it hurts poor Americans, and it's the result of failed policies. And this administration is abundantly full of failed policies. Let me be specific. When you start curtailing oil production, that's ridiculous. Our commodity prices are going through the roof. You've got to get to the basics, whether it's oil, other commodities, and try to let the free market get out there and work its magic. They're curtailing that. labor costs going through the roof. And that's one of the strongest reasons I opposed a mandatory minimum wage of $15. You're creating situations inherently that are inflationary when you do that with the labor pool. The unemployment benefits that have been literally crammed down the throat of American businesses and on states, we're seeing an easing up of that in states like mine in Tennessee where they're no longer going to do that. You artificially create situations that drive prices up, that hurts consumers, that hurts the economy. Let's let free market capitalism work like it did under the Trump administration and get back to common sense economics that will work for all Americans.